Here we go. Practice quiz 1.7. Most is already getting started. All our phones are in the door, right? Here we go. How much will Mrs. Ford have to pay for a jumper if the tag says $8.34, she has a 19% coupon, and the sales tax is $107? Well, remember, always start by writing down whatever the original cost is. So $834. Sorry, $834. Now we're going to make two adjustments to that, right? One of them is a discount because I have a coupon. So what will I multiply by? If I'm taking away 19%, I'm going to multiply by 0.81. How did we get 0.81? 100 minus 19. And another adjustment is I have to add on tax. So that will be 1 plus 7%, or 1.07. So this is 100 minus 19, this is 100 plus 7. And then I just type it all in, and that will be my answer. So I'm going to pay about $7.23. Would you agree with that? Thank you. Okay.
You did 100 divide 19 to get the first print.
100 minus 19. Coupons come off, you subtract. So 100 minus 19. All right. Now I'm going to do a mixture problem. So what's our kind of setup for every mixture problem we do? How are we going to set it up? Amount times percent plus amount times percent equals amount times percent, because what are we doing? We're adding two things together to get a final result, right? So what do we know about the two things we're adding together? What are the percentages involved? 43% juice, 27% juice, and 39% juice. Okay, those are all the percentages right there in the problem. All right, now what about the amounts? How much? We don't know, call it X. Mixed with 11 quarts to get a mixture, final mixture. What's going to go in this parentheses here? What amount am I ending up with? X plus 11, very good. Because these two amounts are being added together to get that amount. So if this was 5, this would be 16. 5 plus 11, right? I don't know what it is, but I'll call it X. All right, so now I've got 0.43X plus 2.97 equal to, this is a distributive, please make sure you're distributing, all right? And then no sympathy, you need to know how to solve this equation. All right, you guys know how to solve equations. So we're gonna move the X's over here, the other things over there, and use your calculator to help you with your arithmetic. End up with 0.04X equal to 1.32. And I got 33 quarts. If I subtracted and divided right. Okay, so I subtracted this to the other side. Subtracted this to the other side. And solve my equation. Anybody else get 33 quarts? Alright, number 3, my favorite box of markers, cost $7.50 last year, now it costs $6.75. Find the percent of decrease. What's my little formula for this? What?
Difference above original?
A difference over original. Peeps, she's been gone on retreat and she knows the answer. If you don't,
Oh,
get yourself caught up. So difference over original, good job, Maya, difference over original. So what is the difference? What's the difference between last year and this year's price? 75 cents, right, 0.75? What do I use as the original price? 7.50. And then I type that into my calculator. It will come out as a decimal. That's an easy one, actually. That will come out as a decimal. But it comes out as 0.1, but what percent is that? 10%. That's a 10% discount. Or 10% decrease, not discount, decrease. Okay. Oops. And then I put another mixture problem on here because, well, you'll see why in a minute. There are 2 different scenarios. One is the one I'm erasing right now, the one we already did. And then look at problem 4. I'll use the same setup. And I have 84% and 46% and 59%. Now, what are my amounts? Well, it says how much. So once again, I'm just gonna put an X there. I don't know how much. Should be mixed with 46% to get 90 gallons of 59%. Now, the general format is the same as the other one we did, but you see what's different about it? What's different about it? Last time, we knew that number, and we didn't know that one. Now we know this one, and we don't know this one, okay? We're on number 4. Number 3 was right here, Naz. Already did it, right there. Okay? Now, remember that these 2 added together, so X plus my empty parentheses has to add up to 90, right? Right, that's what I'm doing, I'm adding these 2 together to get 90. So what does that empty parentheses have to equal? 90 minus X? Think about it like this, you guys. If you knew this was 40, if you knew this was 40, 40 plus this would have to be 90. Well, if that were 40, you would all tell me what this is. What would that have to be? If it has to add up to 90, that would be 50. And how did you get 50? You took 90 minus 40. Well, this is X, so this is going to be 90 minus X. These 2 add up to that one. Okay. And we solve it just like we did the other one. Here's your distribute. There's always gonna be one distribute in there somewhere. So be sure that you do it. Now, be careful, you know how to do this. What am I gonna do first here as I start solving this equation? I'm gonna combine like terms, that's right, so these two have to get combined. So I've got 0.38x plus 41.4 equals 53.1. So now I'll subtract 53.1 minus 41.4.
Okay.
And then I will divide by 0.38. Did you, this one didn't work out so great. Did you get 30.79, what's my unit? Gallons? Did you get that? So, look back at your, problem 2. When we set up all of our parentheses and we had an empty parentheses here, what did we put in there? That one was 11 plus x? 11 plus x?
X plus 1.
But when it, well, which is the same as 11 plus x. When it was here, it's 9 minus x. Right? All right, tomorrow's quiz is gonna have 3 of these 4 problems on it. 3 of the 4. That's tomorrow's quiz, okay? All right, let's get out our practice test. And let's get started getting ready for a test on Friday. They're up here, Cole. I asked who needed one and you didn't volunteer, so. All right. Here is our basic shape. So this is like the quiz we took, which I will return after we get everybody done taking it. But our basic shape is this. So some of you like to label all these, and that is perfectly wonderful. You don't have to label them. I'm labeling a few. You can label them or not label them. That's up to you. You don't have to label anything in these pictures. Just what you want. Okay, so let's look at problem A. Who can tell me what is happening in problem A? Dana, were you here on Friday?
Yeah, I don't know where mine's at.
Okay, well, honey, I didn't make a bunch of extras, okay? So you'll have to find yours, all right? Or you can do it in, right there, yeah. Okay. So tell me what's happening with this problem. What's happening here? what change am I making?
Multiply by negative.
It's gonna be upside down and twice as tall. Alright, upside down, twice as tall. So what does that mean about this triangle? Instead of coming left 1 and down 2, it's gonna go left 1 and up 4. And what about my trapezoid? Well, instead of going right 2 and up 3, it's gonna go right 2 and down 6. And this point is going to go right 4 and down 6. And there is my picture. Upside down and twice as tall. Alright, how about this guy? What changes are happening in this one? Okay, but what does that mean? There's two kinds of absolute value. What does this one do? Oh, guys, this is bottoms up. And then we're gonna go down 2. Now, you can do that in 1 step if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and do it in 2 steps. This triangle is gonna come up. Remember, everything underneath comes up. That's what bottoms up means. The bottom of the picture comes up. The trapezoid is actually just staying the same. Now, I'm not done yet, but that is the bottoms up. Is everybody okay with that? Go back to the original. That's my bottoms up. Okay? Now, I'm gonna take everything and lower it 2. So you got graph paper there, just count down 2. Everything comes down 2. Some of you like to draw in that new line down there, down 2. That's perfectly okay. If that's what you wanna do. And there we go. Okay? What about, oh shoot, what about the next one? What is happening in this one? F of negative x plus 1.
Up 1.
So it's definitely gonna go up 1. What does that do?
Flip.
Flips you sideways. So that means this entire picture is going to flip sideways. So the triangle that was on the right, excuse me, left, this is the left. The triangle that was on the left is now going to be on the right. So instead of going left 1, down 2, I'm going to go right 1, down 2. And then the same thing with the trapezoid, only he's gonna show up on the left. So instead of going right 2, up 3, I'll go left 2, up 3. I have to erase my problem. And then left 4. So now I'm not done yet, but I did the flipping sideways part because of the negative. Now I'm going to take everything up 1 So the pink one is my final answer. And again, you don't have to draw that line in there. I think it helps some of you to do that. You don't have to put that in there. You don't have to label any points, although you can, if that helps you. Whatever helps you get that picture, that's what you need to do. All right, 2 more of these. All right, what does this do? What's that one?
Mirror.
That's your mirror. So, what do we do when we mirror? We draw the right. So don't change a thing, just draw it draw it exactly as it is. There it is, there's the right. The trapezoid. And then what do I do? Draw exactly that same thing over here. So the exact same picture on the other side. And we're done. That's it. Okay? And one more. What does this one do? What does it do? It actually divides the width by 2. That number is a divider. That coefficient is a divider. It divides your width. It makes it half as wide. We talked about this before. I get that it's confusing, but it's very consistent, guys. Remember we talk about whenever we're in parentheses, we do the opposite? Remember, if it's x plus 3, it actually goes left. This is the same thing. If it's inside the parentheses, it's going to do the opposite of what you think. So, it's going to take every x and divide it by 2. How wide is my original trapezoid, or triangle? How wide is my original triangle? 2. So now it's only going to be 1. So here's my triangle. It still goes down the same amount, but now it's only 1 wide. Now what about my trapezoid? That's the only other thing I've got. How wide is my trapezoid? 6. Now he's only going to be 3. Now he's the same height, but now he's only 3. So your x's are getting divided by 2. Okay? All right, so that takes care of that. Remember, what's the test going to look like? Like this, right? So you're going to have to do some graphing. Again, with an easy picture, like this one. Okay, now we have our word problem page. All right, here we go. I'm going to do my volume problem. Now, this is not on tomorrow's quiz, but it is on your test. So here we go. We're practicing this. What is my equation for my volume going to be if my paper is 13 by 9? Come on, you guys know this. If you were here on Friday, we set up a few of these. What is that volume going to be? What's my setup? Look at your notes. Yes, 13 minus 2x, good. And then,
9 minus 2x.
yep, and then,
X.
yep, that's it. That is my volume. Now, what about my domain? What's my domain? 0 to, no, not 3. Look at your notes. 0 to what? 0 is right. Your minimum x is the size of the corners. The minimum is always going to be 0. 4.5. Because what is 4.5? Half of the lowest dimension. Okay. So now I'm going to type that in on my calculator. Make sure you are typing in your new your new equation. Change your window to reflect your new equation. And when you hit graph, what do you need to see? The top of the hill, right? And if you don't, then you will adjust Y max, right? So we all should be typing this in on our calculators. And then second calc max. You will always get a point. It'll say maximum. Mine says 1.745, comma, 91.438. It literally says that on the calculator. Maximum here. Then you have to decide which of those numbers you're going to actually put in the answer blank. Which of those numbers do I want? My job was to find the maximum volume. So which of those do I want? I want Y, because that's when I set up my equation, that's what Y equaled the volume. So 91.438 cubic inches. Now, what's the 1.7? What is that number? That's the X, and what did the X stand for? How much you cut out. So if the question said, remember when we had our piece of paper and we were cutting on it? If we said, how big of corners should I cut out? That would be the answer. You get out your ruler and you measure that much.
You put it in there.
All right. Number 3, going to the store, uniform pants are $33.50. 15% discount, taking off 15%, and adding on 7%. And we literally just did this. So I'm starting with my $33.50. What's gonna go here? 0.85. What's gonna go here? 1.07. I'm gonna type it in on my calculator and I'm gonna have my answer. So 33.50, 1.07. $30.47 is what I'm gonna pay for my new pants. Number 4. What's my setup for problem 4? Amount times percent plus amount times percent. All right, so we got 6 things to fill in. what are my percentages? 45, 75, and these are all decimals, 0.45, 0.75, and 0.58. Now, what are my amounts? How much? 32. And then what am I gonna put over there? These two added together make that one, so that one's gonna be 32 plus X or X plus 32. And then we'll let our calculator help us out here. And then somewhere there's an X, there we go. And then we'll solve. I got 41.85 ounces. Anybody else get that? Yep. Cam, you got it? All right, one more. Last year, the team won 19 games. This year, they won 24 games. What is the percent of increase? All right, what's our formula? Difference over original. So the difference is 5. And what do I put in as the original? What was the first number? 19. And then I'll go to my calculator. Remember, it's going to give you a decimal. You're going to change it into a percent. So what'd you get? 26.32%. If we round off to the nearest hundred. So you're gonna have a page of graphs, you're gonna have a page of word problems, and then you're gonna have 2 pages. I packed it all onto one, but this will be spread over on 2 pages. So here we go. Haven't done this in a while. Number 6. I have 2 parametric equations, and I have to find a direct algebraic relationship between them. Okay, you should have your notes out. What does that mean? Eliminate T. Eliminate T. Now, if you are literally going to use elimination to do that, you are going to need to line them up. So X equals T plus 4. I'm just turning that one around. And then Y equals 2T minus 3. How would I eliminate now? What would I have to do to eliminate my T? Multiply the top by -2. So -2x, -2t, -8. So this is like a big distributive. Everything times -2. And then add. These don't combine, so you're just going to leave them -2x plus y equal to, those are gone, which is exactly what you had hoped would happen, -11. There it is, the direct algebraic relationship between x and y. That means get rid of the t, which is exactly what you did. anybody, wonders if these are inverses or not. Okay? I want you to probably don't remember, but you will in a second. So here's what I want you to do. Let's pick a number like 7. I just picked a random number. Don't pick 0, don't pick 1, pick some random number like 7. If I put 7 into function f, what do I get? What do I get when I put 7 in there? 10? Put 7 right in here. I got 10. Now, take that 10 and put it into your other function. So I randomly chose 7. I plugged it in and got 10. Now I'm taking that 10 and putting it in my other function. What do I get when I put 10 in there? 9? These are not inverses. And they're not inverses because, remember, inverses flip-flop the ordered pairs. So if you put in 7 and get 10, when you put in 10, you should get back your 7. And we didn't. We got some other number. If I put in 8 and got 50, and then I put in 50 and got my 8 back again, those would be inverses. The number you start with doesn't matter. Pick one. Pick whatever number you want to start with. It will give you an answer. You'll plug the answer into your other equation. If you don't get your original number back again, they are not inverses. Got it? Says why or why not? I put in 7, I got 10, but when I put in 10, I did not get 7. And that's what inverses do. All right, speaking of inverses, now you're going to find the inverse. Well, you should remember this, because we had a quiz over this. What do I do if I have to find the inverse?
Switch it.
Switch my variables. So my first change is literally just switch the variables. Now what? Get y by itself. So we'll multiply by 4. And then what? I'm trying to get y by itself. So then I will subtract 9 and divide by -2. And then if I want to look really sharp, I'm going to, what is this? This was f. So f inverse will equal 4x minus 9 over -2. So on the original paper, we started out with function notation. I changed it to a y. Now I'm changing it back into function notation. Only since it's the inverse now, I'll say f inverse. All right. How about this one? We had a quiz over this. Most of you did really well. Let's see if you remember. Our one problem quiz.
Switch it.
What?
Switch it.
Switch them again. Always, that's how we start. The difference is, now I'm going to have 2 y's, which is not good. All right, so what was the process we went through to take care of that? Multiply by the denominator, so I'm going to bring this over here. So I'll have 2y plus 4 times x equal to 3y minus 5. So this comes over here. Then what? Distribute. So 2xy plus 4x equals 3y minus 5. Okay, now, very important step here. These two have to change places. Now, you guys, when you bring this over to this side, it's going to become negative, right? And when you bring this over to this side, it too is going to become negative. When you move stuff from side to side, it's like adding to both sides or subtracting, right? You change sign. Then what? Factor out the y. Factor it out. Now we only have one y. Good news. And then last step, divide. And this is what I'm dividing by. So my inverse is going to be negative 4x minus 5 over 2x minus 3. Remember doing that on your quiz? All right, number 9. Couple more parametric equations here. And we need to find an ordered pair, find an x and y, and we know that t is negative 1. This is the easiest problem ever. What do? Plug it in. So if we put negative 1 in here, what do we get? Negative 1 squared is 1, so that's my x. And then if I put negative 1 in here, what do I get? I'm putting in negative 1. What's 5 plus negative 1? 5 plus negative 1 is not 6. 5 plus negative 1 is 4 divided by 3. So how do we do that now? We just plug in whatever value they gave us. That's it. That's it. Done. Problem over. All right, now we've got some weird kind of shape. I am not going to mark it wrong if you don't label your original points, but boy, I sure would. I sure would, because you are in a minute going to be graphing the inverse, and it's going to be very, very helpful if you have these points labeled on the original. Let's answer the first two. Before we sketch it, let's answer B, C, and D. Is that right there a function? Mary's nodding, and she's right. Why? Passes the vertical line test. Is that right there, is his inverse a function? Nope, because it doesn't pass the horizontal line test. If you drew a horizontal line through, it would hit more than once. Does that mean it's 1 to 1? No, because to be 1 to 1, what has to be the case? It has to pass both. This one passes vertical, fails horizontal, so therefore it's not 1 to 1. Okay, everybody remember that? That's been a while ago. Okay, now we're going to sketch the inverse. I did things a little bit out of order, doesn't matter. Now we're going to sketch the inverse, okay? to sketch the inverse, we take each ordered pair, and I would start at one end or the other, and flip it. So what is the inverse of that point? 0, -4. How about this one? -2, -3. How about this one? -1, -2. -1, -1, and 0, 0. So far, that's what I have. I did all these. This one would be 1, 2, and 0, 3. And there's your inverse. How did I do that? I took every point on the original and simply flipped the X and the Y. That's what we do when we have inverses. All right, and then the last one on the practice test, this is it. I drew the original, figure 1 is the original. And then I drew something else. And you need to tell me what changes happened. And then write an equation for that. So let's just make a list first. What changed in getting from figure 1 to figure 2? Flip which way? Sideways, all right, sideways flip. All right, anything else happen? I think it's also upside down, isn't it? So it's sideways and upside down. Looks like that's it. Would you agree? So what would that equation look like if I am flipping it both ways, essentially? What do I need to put into my equation? You know, if you moved it up 2, you would put a +2 on the end, right? That moves it up 2. Well, what do I need to put into my equation if I am flipping sideways and up and down? Negatives, right? This negative would flip me sideways, and then that negative would flip me upside down. So you would write that in the answer line, because that's the 2 changes that happened in the problem. Okay? Next? Huh? Okay, we did those. We sketched it, I already erased it, but right here, it was a sideways thing. That was a sketch. And then this is a function because it passes the vertical line test. The inverse is not a function because it doesn't do horizontal. And so it's not 1-to-1 because it has to pass both. Okay, we got 3 minutes. We can do one more word problem for tomorrow. So, who has one kind of the word problem, like we're on the practice quiz? Is there one more we need to do? Most, what do you think?
The one with the 4. One with
The AMT,
yeah.
The what?
the one like AMT, multiply, differential.
Oh, like
Percentage.
the, oh, okay. So like I'm buying a, well, let's say I go to the restaurant and my meal costs $48, okay? But I have to pay, a 20% tip. I have to pay, 8% tax. But luckily, I found an online coupon for 25% off. Okay, so what would this look like? Well, I'm gonna start with my $48, right? Now, what am I gonna multiply by? What will this look like? No, no, no. Tips don't come off, guys. 1.20. Tips are an add-on, just like tax, right? 100 plus 20 more, 120%. What would an 8% tax look like? 1.08, that's another add-on, 1 plus. What does a 25% coupon look like? 0.75, that one is a subtraction. This is 100, or 1 plus 0.2. This is 1 plus 0.08, and this is 1 minus 0.25. And then you multiply all that together, and round it off to the nearest cent, and that will be your answer. Okay? All right, quiz tomorrow. Make sure you have your calculator charged and ready to go.
Oh, you didn't buy Dr.